listening to The Kula Ring, a podcast made for manufacturing marketers. Here are Carman Perry and Jeff White.
Welcome to the Kula Ring. My name is Jeff White, and joining me today is Carman Perry. Carman, how are you making out?
I am doing well, Jeff, and you?
I'm doing okay too. I think my radio voice is particularly good today because I have the worst cold I've had in like a year.
So it can get you down to a different level of bass
Yes.
and baritone.
Yeah, no, which is unlike me.
Just going to bring it down tonight. I don't know where you are or where you're driving, but no. Well, look, I got to say, I'm really excited about today's guest. It's often that we love our American friends and we love working with American clients and interviewing American guests, but it is always nice to feature a fellow Canadian firm on the show.
Yeah, so joining us today is Murray Bain from Stanpac, based in Ontario, Canada. And Murray is the VP Marketing. Welcome to the Kula Ring, Murray.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be here.
It's fantastic to have you, Murray. Why don't we start by introducing our listeners a bit to Stanpac and your role in history with the firm, just to ground us our conversation in that.
Certainly. Well, Stanpac, as you mentioned, is a manufacturing company. Our home base is in Smithville, Ontario, which is in the Niagara region, about a half an hour from Niagara Falls. We do today, of course, have a number of different locations in New Jersey and Texas and Mexico as far as manufacturing and warehousing. However, our roots go back to Burlington, Ontario. The company was formed in 1949 and was a part of a large packaging conglomerate, Standard Packaging, and it made milk bottle caps that the old paper plug caps that go in a glass milk bottle. So that's our humble beginnings, and the Witt family owns the business. It's a privately held business. Steve Witt, the founder, purchased the company in 1971, and it was again in Burlington, and there were 2 employees at the time. So from that and then up to today, we're just a shade over 700 employees. So a fair bit of growth over the years.
That is a remarkable growth story. My
No kidding.
So Steve moved the company 2 years later to Smithville, which is just a kind of a rural community in Niagara, and we've just kept adding different products and equipment and people through the years to where we are today, which is primarily ice cream packaging is a large component of our business, but we also have stayed to our roots and produce everything that you would need to have a glass refillable milk bottle. We have the bottles made for us. However, we print on the bottles, we manufacture the caps and closures, we have cases, we have pretty much, well, I guess our motto used to be for that business and still is today, everything but the milk.
Nice. I think, look, for our listeners, I feel that there are a lot of areas where we could really dive into here to help, I guess, just inform the marketing dialogue. I think that there are a number of things happening from an external perspective and just kind of societal perspective that in particular impacts packaging manufacturers, but others as well. That I think some of those dynamics are interesting to explore, and as well the kind of how you've had to respond to an evolving marketplace. So I think for our listeners trying to wonder where is this conversation going, I'm here to tell you that I think we want to just provide some insight into the marketing thinking and expertise that has gone into leading the charge at Stanpac over the last while in the face of a number of these things. And first and foremost in that, I think for packaging manufacturers is the heightened sensitivity and awareness surrounding the environment. It's interesting, of course, that politically is about the only place where there's a debate around climate change. I think most people otherwise take it to be true and understand the science that powers that understanding and knowledge. And they also, packaging manufacturers for a long time have been sensitive to that, packaging often being held up as a as a part of waste in product delivery in some way, shape, or form. We've seen that recently in Canada, for instance, around cannabis packaging being a very hot topic. People thinking that it's very wasteful. Um, so from an environmental standpoint, Murray, you face these pressures, but then at the same time, my guess is that the customer base hasn't always been as keen to vote with their wallets around those more environmentally progressive choices. Is that accurate?
That's very true. It is changing with both large and smaller users, or the multinationals as well as local manufacturers. They're the consumers are making choices on smarter, or what they perceive to be as better packaging options, and manufacturers are starting to listen. It's complicated, and I think for a number of years, folks have decided, not to address it because their main concerns were, you know, shelf life perhaps of a package, and keeping their product um, fresh as long as possible. Taste and flavor and nutrient profiles to ensure that when they create a product, that it stays the same. So, some complex packaging um, materials were needed to in order to achieve that, and 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 they thought that that was what was most important. Well, consumers now are changing that and saying, yes, we want the product to be consistent and taste good, but also we have to make sure the packaging is not harming the environment or contributing to any of the environmental issues that we've been talking about.
And maybe I'm naive to ask this, but I wonder how much of that sales conversation is changing as a result of evolving consumer demand, and how much of it is changing just based upon the people having the conversation. Are the people buying your products today just on a personal level more environmentally aware, and is that driving some of that behavior, or is it simply purely response to consumer?
That's a good question, and I don't think I have a clear answer on that. But I do know that customers and prospects are asking those questions. I would I would suggest that you know uh, younger generations are certainly, it's more on their radar. So if you're working with people, in that part of the business that happen to be younger, then yes, I think it's on their checklist.
It yeah, it's interesting. I think that there's lots of talk about the emerging digital native millennial, what have you, B2B buyer, and changing kind of digital expectations and experiences. But I think those expectations and experiences that those expectations that change are beyond are move beyond just the digital. I think it also impacts things like frankly environmental sensitivity.
For sure.
Um, and uh, I'm also just in looking at your business from the outside looking in, whether it be on the wine and spirit side of things or even on the milk side of things, it seems like there must be a migration to dealing with many more niche local providers of these things. There seems to be an explosion in the buy local category in all those spaces.
There is, and there's more of a crossover now than any time in my memory, as far as the dairy industry, with the number of local dairies that there are compared to 10 or 20 years ago, as well as wine, spirits, beer. um, just in our area alone, there are hundreds combined, when there might have been one or two 10 or 15 years ago. So it does make it quite interesting, and all the the packaging. Everyone wants their package to tell their story and to represent their brand, of course. So you're seeing many variations on the theme. So it's interesting as a packaging manufacturer to be able to respond and provide so many different treatments and options, so that they can all be individual.
It must also be challenging, however, to have a similar cost of sale associated with what was probably a much smaller order quantity over time.
That's true. However, folks are willing to pay, what's necessary for their package, and smaller quantities do carry higher costs and, longer setups, and you know, there are so many costs, whether you're doing 100 packages or a million packages that are the same. So it does end up costing more. But I think in the marketplace, you see that people will pay a premium for something local, or they know where it's made, or they can see where it's made, and they'd rather support their neighbor than somebody in a different um, country.
For sure. And I think too, I mean, related to that, and perhaps shifting gears a little bit on this, a lot of the products that Stanpack creates can be purchased on their own without any customization or anything like that as well. How did you see the opportunity for those very low volumes and kind of look to open an e-commerce store for people who may just be looking for some coffee cups or bottles directly?
Well, we stumbled on that quite. I'd like to say that we planned and we spent a lot of money trying to figure it all out, but we stumbled on it, and it worked quite well. Um, as smaller users and people that are perhaps in startups, or mom and pop type shops, were looking for our products, they would call our office, and we have quite a group of customer service people. That one of the things that does separate us from the rest is we do a lot of one-on-one conversations with our customers. If somebody calls our office, um, they'll be picked up on the first ring, and they'll have a conversation with the person. And we have quite a large customer base, so we have quite a few customer service people. But what was happening is, a customer service person is assigned to a customer list, a certain group of customers, perhaps by geography. And when other folks would come in, who haven't purchased from us before, there are lots of questions, and there's many different products, and it requires a bit of a conversation. That was chewing up so much time that we didn't have the opportunity to service correctly our longer established accounts that we work with every day of the week. So we said, well, let's sell some stuff online and see how that happens, and maybe we can direct um, people that are purchasing a certain quantity or less to our e-commerce site, and that will save a lot of time for our customer service people. And it did. It worked really well, um, and that online presence has grown. It's just about doubled every year in the last 5 years. So it's served a great purpose too. On the other end of it, once these customers are important as well, and once they get buying and growing, then it's our hope that they will move across, and work with our customer service people as they grow.
I'd be curious to what extent you've noticed that happening already. Have you seen some of that effect of the online store as the gateway drug?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, it does. I mean, it doesn't happen every day of the week, but to those who are growing or trying something out, then yeah, for sure, and we if you were on our site, you would see messaging and links to, do you want a larger order, do you want to customize this product, so on and so forth. So there's opportunities for them to jump across.
Are your digital marketing efforts bringing in too many junk leads? Stop wasting time and distracting your sales team. Account based marketing can help give your marketing strategy the laser focus on qualified buyers that you need to increase your pipeline velocity, close more deals, and grow your business faster. We've created a sample manufacturing ABM plan to help you get started. Download the sample manufacturing ABM plan at bit.ly/sample ABM. That's bit.ly/sample ABM.
I'm curious on the e-commerce side of the equation, when you set out to, I mean, part of it is an efficiency gain on the order, kind of just on the customer service side,
Correct.
and then some of it is frankly a revenue gain. Um, and then you disclose that you kind of stumbled into it, which I kind of I kind of like that admission, frankly, because I think sometimes as marketers, we'd be well served to acknowledge sometimes when we just stumble into stuff, and that this isn't all as scientific
Post
as we try to
success
talk.
rationalization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just wondering. So my guess is that you didn't set up the KPIs at the start and say that we're going to measure how much efficiency gain we've gotten back on our customer service and on and on. But have you done that in retrospect? Have you? And how quickly do you think you kind of paid off that e-com investment?
Oh, we paid it off in the first 6 months for sure, and it wasn't that expensive. Now we do, yes. Now we look at what products are selling. We look at we're starting to put some products on sale. We have we've added a can I help you and live chat on the website. So we continue to put some investment into that and to and different products. I mean, in the last 2 years, we purchased another company in New Jersey that makes food service packaging, coffee cups and takeout packaging. So we've added all that to the site as well, and we believe that it needs a little tweaking still, but we believe that will um, potentially outperform the ice cream and glass products that are on the site presently.
Very cool. And to what extent, as you look at your kind of e-commerce roadmap ahead, I'd be curious, to what extent are you considering marketing automation, customer segmentation, more advanced plays there to help grow lifetime value of customer and nurture those relationships? Or are you seeing it as being remaining more transactional?
I believe it to be for the product group that's on there. I think more transactional.
It's a,
Until they make the jump to
yeah.
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
But it's interesting. I mean, there are probably instances where somebody can be actually a reasonably large company buying a standard SKU, right?
yeah, yeah.
They don't need to make the jump. Well, we shall try not to create marketing strategy on the fly
On the
during a podcast for Stanpac.
It wouldn't
I,
be the first time.
oh, I just find it an interesting category because the head starts spinning around what's possible.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that your last point, Murray, around the acquisition of the food service packaging company. I mean, the mergers and acquisitions side has been a large part of the growth of Stanpac, and I think you mentioned to me when we initially spoke that the ice cream side of the business has driven a lot of that growth, and that only came on stream in 2008. I think you said.
That's correct. We did some ice cream packaging prior to that, but what we found is that we really needed a complete line of packaging in order for the industry to want to partner with us. So in there was a large packaging company that was selling off different divisions, and so in 2008 we came to an agreement to purchase that division, and that tripled the size of our company overnight. And that was an interesting time and an interesting challenge. But it went from you know one location in Smithville to two manufacturing locations, again Smithville and in Texas. So it really changed the company, and but we had a great team of managers and leaders that were able to just dive in and make it work.
The cultural transformation there must have been massive. I always find that an interesting dynamic when basically it's a smaller entity taking over the larger one.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it we worked very hard to try and keep the culture as close as possible. When you go through seismic change like that, it becomes difficult. But many of the leaders in the company. Now, I should mention that Steve's the founder's two sons are co-presidents, Andrew and Matt, and many of the so another generation is in place, and many of the leaders that they've chosen to work around them, they went to public school and high school with, and just they had gone away and gone to school and worked in other markets, and we've brought them back. So there's you know very similar interests in our leadership, and they understand the culture, so they're able to choose their team members um, to that will fit.
No, I've got to tell you, Murray, I'm at 20 minutes in. There's no way I'm going to dump this on you as a redirection for the podcast topic.
Okay.
But I will say this. I think it would be fascinating to have a conversation about marketing within a family owned manufacturing enterprise. There are a wide number of uh, mid-market B2B manufacturers across North America that are family owned still to this day,
Certainly.
and 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 I think it's well documented some of the succession challenges and things of that nature that are associated with those businesses. But I think it's less talked about, basically, the lived experience of the marketer and how that kind of environment might change it. So I just want to put that bug in your ear, and if our listeners hear that and think it's an interesting idea, then maybe find a way to tell us that you think it's an interesting idea, and we can see if we can tee this up. My guess is, though, it's just one of the hard things to talk about too, right? Because of course you're inherently talking about your your bosses, which is a challenge.
Well, it's again, Steve, the founder. He out of all the businesses that I know, and the folks that I work with, he spent an incredible amount of time and energy in the succession plan to make sure that it would work properly. The boys had both been in the business for quite some time. Andrew used to be a sales fellow that worked for me, and so it took he took at least 10 years, not full on, but over 10 years in preparation for the change. And he's still quite involved in the business, and the boys promised not to screw it up too bad. So that was
You
that was
see how I
fine.
did that passive aggressive Canadian thing where I say, let's not talk about this, and then I stop talking and allow you to speak about it?
Right, there you go.
Um, but, Nevertheless, I'm curious. As you survey the horizon and you look at steering the Stanpac marketing and sales apparatus over the next 3 to 5 years, I'd be curious about what things you're most excited about, what opportunities you think might be around the corner, and also the icebergs that you're worried about.
Well, we've our growth over the past, I think, 3 to 5 years, probably the last three for sure. Our growth has been 20% per year. So we've had, you know, there's a lot of work that goes and there's a lot of investment that is required for growth of that magnitude. Um, we're hoping it won't be the same this year, but we still have some aggressive growth on the go. You think as far as an iceberg goes, you think you're going to hit the wall in the markets that you're in. That how much more can you possibly get? Um, we've been fortunate enough that the wall keeps moving further away, so our growth continues. So investment is a challenge as well, because we have to. Um, Being a privately held company, and we're not interested in doing anything different. We want to stay private. That can limit the amount of investment that's available for equipment and infrastructure that's needed. On the horizon, we've talked about it briefly at the beginning of our conversation, that um, the environment of the environment, that it's really changing, and raw material suppliers are working on it. There isn't a week that goes by where we don't see something new that folks would like us to dig into and take a look at. So we believe there will be potentially a complete shift in our paperboard packaging to materials that aren't available today, which will be quite interesting. Um, Materials that are completely recyclable. Uh, Not so much. There is a trend towards compostable packaging, but I personally don't think it's going to go there. It's too hard with a on the coffee cup side of things. Unless a whole industry changes, how do you separate two coffee cups, one from McDonald's and one from Starbucks and one from Tim's? Because a consumer can't tell the difference. It looks like a paper cup. But if we can change the materials so that it's recyclable just beside a cereal box or a cake box or whatever, then that will be um, that that'll be a win. But we're presently working on I believe it's 8 different options for paperboard packaging. And then on the glass side of things, we've always been plugging refillable bottles as the best method um, for recyclability, because you make a glass container and you use it over and over again as many times as you can, and then you crush it up and make it into a new glass bottle again. So that there've been many, mostly smaller regional and family dairies doing that, and they're growing, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't, why that business isn't going to take off in the next 3 years as well.
You also have a portion of the business that is dedicated to actually creating machines for filling packaging as well. I think you mentioned ice cream filling. How much of that is kind of going into the thought process along with the packaging itself?
Well, for a certain number of our customers, they will lease these ice cream. It's called a flexi fill. It's ice cream filling equipment, and that just provides um, a dairy with a very economical, easy solution to filling products or trying a new size. It's as it says, flexi. It's very flexible, quick changeovers, and so that's something. It's not for all of our customers. Some of our customers have their own equipment. Some of them have much larger, faster equipment. But this is again, it's just another tool in the box that allows our customers to easily use the products, and it's a good avenue for our ice cream packaging as well.
Switching gears back to the environment piece, just briefly, though, I do think it's fascinating to consider that, just how that space can be open to massive regulatory change and uplift almost overnight. Um, whole markets can change. The landscape that you're operating within can change with the election of somebody that is for instance, that comes to office with a climate change agenda, which we're likely to see that in a major market that your organization serves over the next 4 to 8 years. So I think it's just such an interesting time to be in your chair.
Yes, it is. And up until, I'm going to say, even last year, um, w- political or not, however it comes to be, the industry has been working on this for quite some time. But I think it's just the right time. I think technology is developing, and resources are being put to it as well. People say, "Oh, maybe people are wondering about the environment. We should start working on this." And I think just about the right amount of time has been spent on it for us to see some real um, innovations, which will be again exciting to introduce, to get them to market and to see what customers want.
So, Murray, I'm curious, how long have you been in the role? This-
Well, I've been here quite some time, about 35 years, and probably the last close to 30 of those in the sales and then marketing side of things.
So I'm going to ask for some advice as we part ways on today's podcast. I'd be curious what advice you might give a B2B marketer that just recently joined a manufacturing enterprise, maybe in the last 6 months, and is on the front end of that career. What do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Well, I don't know if I know a whole lot more now than I did then, but that's a, they, I, basically, just don't be afraid to listen to ideas and new things that are coming along. Just keep your ears to the ground and explore and share those ideas with the industry and those around you to see. Just a lot of listening. I think listening is pretty important.
I think that there's a lot of wisdom in 35 years coming through in the understanding of your first point, which is you say you don't feel like you know so much, which I think, quite honestly, I think part of gaining experience is the general understanding of how maybe little you know for sure, and frankly, increasing a willingness to be wrong or to be steered in alternate directions. So I think that that's actually great advice for our listeners to take.
Try and get your mistakes out of the way first thing in the morning so you can have a positive afternoon.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Well, Murray, it's been a pleasure to chat with you today. I thank you for sharing the Stanpac experience with us and our listeners.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
All the
Thank you.
best.
Thanks for listening to the Kula Ring with Carman Perry and Jeff White. Don't miss a single manufacturing marketing insight. Subscribe now at kulapartners.com/the Kula Ring. That's KULApartners.com/the Kula Ring.